Hi, this is Lainey, and I am here today with my good friend and co host of my writers group, Charlotte Jin. Hey, Charlotte.
Hey, Lainey, thank you so much for having me on today.
And today's a big day, right? Because this is the release, if I've got this right, of your second book today, right?
Yes, that is correct. My second book, Mushroom Honeymoon, is out now, exclusive on Amazon.
Yay. And in case folks haven't yet seen your books, I'm kind of excited to introduce them to your books. And let's take a quick peek. The first one was called Cactus Friends. The second one now out is Mushroom Honeymoon. And some of the quotes about these are so fun: steamy, sexy, tropical, couldn't put it down, an emotional read. I know there's a romance angle to these, but for people who are listening who maybe haven't read your books yet, tell us a little bit more about who these books are ideal for, and then we'll talk about what they're about.
Thanks. Yes. So these books are in a series called the Psychedelic Love series, but they're also written to be read alone as standalones. So they follow the same characters, but they're different stories. And they're in the genre of what I like to call psychedelic fiction, and with a touch of romance, suspense, and some magical romance. So the ideal reader for these books is someone who's interested maybe in exploring psychedelics or who likes adventure and travel to exotic locations. The first book takes place in South Florida and a lot in the Everglades, and the second book moves the characters from South Florida to Hawaii, and they go through Oahu and the Big Island. So these books will really appeal to people that like a little bit of supernatural elements in their fiction, who also like inspirational stories and maybe a touch of metaphysical and spiritual things, and who are also not afraid of reading a little steam and a little sexy sexy elements in their books, because the second one especially gets kind of hot.
Oof. And this is not necessarily women's fiction. I invited you because I'm just so excited about the second one coming out. And you and I have been hosting this writers group. So I got to hear all about it and its progress. So I just wanted to celebrate with you today. And also, I bet you people who are listening don't know much about psychedelic fiction as a category. So why don't you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so psychedelic fiction, I'd say it's definitely a niche category, and probably the most famous books are the Carlos Castaneda series, which are like a crossover between nonfiction and fiction. There's some debate around those. And then there's also books like some of Philip K. Dick's books fall into psychedelic fiction. Vert is a famous psychedelic fiction example given. And it's books that explore, have a touch of psychedelics, and also like explore the mind and consciousness and go deeper into these kind of exploration of the self.
Cool. And I know the second one is just out now, but let's take a peek at a review of the first one. And this is by Sharon Duquette, who wrote No Rules, which is a great memoir. It's a really fascinating memoir set in the 1970s. And I like how she put it. She says, this book appealed to me because of its unique storyline. And you, Charlotte, wove together a new romance, an old heartbreak, and experiences with shamans and visions to create a mystical yet believable experience that kept me turning pages late into the night. That's awesome. Sharon's got good judgment too. So
Yeah, and her book has a touch of psychedelic, some psychedelic elements in it as well. So it's a great person to talk about the book. But yes, Cactus Friends follows a struggling photographer. Her name is Thelma. And this book is more women's fiction because it follows Thelma on a journey of self-discovery. But she is trying to figure herself out. She's struggling with her art. She's feels like she's gotten sucked into the world of commercial photography, but she wants to be a fine artist. And she meets a friend who encourages her to go try this secret cactus ceremony in the Everglades. So she goes to the Everglades and drinks this tea from the Wachuma cactus, has a psychedelic vision, and in the vision, someone from her past communicates a really cryptic message to her. And so the rest of the novel is spent exploring what this message means and unraveling the mystery And she meets a nice fellow along the way that becomes part of the story, and his name is Simon. And the second book also touches on these characters, Thelma and Simon, except it focuses on Simon's perspective. So it follows the male character, and they're moving on, and they are experimenting with magic mushrooms and ayahuasca. And so it follows them to Hawaii, where they attend these ceremonies and interpret those messages. And there's a bit of mystery woven in as they discover kind of what these experiences mean for their lives.
And I always ask when I'm doing my interviews, like, where does your inspiration for something so unique and fun come from?
Thank you. So the inspiration is definitely super personal. It comes from my own journey and my own experience. So I had gone through a rough period. I had been diagnosed with PTSD and um, general anxiety disorder. So I was really struggling with ways to heal myself. And so I got involved in the plant medicine community, started attending ceremonies in my community. And through those ceremonies, I really had some spiritual experiences. And I thought, wow, this would be great to share with others in a way that's different, in a way that's kind of more accessible than maybe a scientific or a nonfiction book about just different plant compounds. So I decided I wanted to put it in a fiction setting. And some of my actual experiences and visions, they influenced what went into the book. So I actually had an experience where I kept seeing like the name of a person from my past. And when I contacted them, they had just been in a terrible accident and were actually in the
Whoa.
hospital. Yeah. And this experience with them really inspired the first book. Um, and it just led from there. And I also found that it was a really good way to reach people, especially older women who I never imagined would be my main target audience for these books, but I found that they're bringing them back to their youth. So like baby boomer women and women who might have maybe experimented with psychedelics when they were much younger, but then never saw them as a way to understand themselves or as any kind of like healing capacity. And so now they're reading the books and kind of rediscovering it and thinking about their lives. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in this topic or maybe has read Michael Pollan's book, Change Your Mind, and wants to kind of explore deeper, or maybe you're hesitant to have these experiences yourself, but you want to read about it, to pick up the book. Or if you just like a steamy, sexy, tropical adventure, that it will also work.
Well, I love the idea of like experimentation through fiction, right? So not everybody feels comfortable with trying everything and all the different ceremonies and substances, but this is a way to experience that through fiction, which is one of the biggest gifts of fiction is you can try stuff out. And it's interesting, like psychedelics. I know you're more up on this than me, but like they've been finding all these things recently, right? Like they can help with depression, they can help with PTSD. They're experimenting in all kinds of different interesting ways now, right?
Yes, there's tons of studies coming out. There's movements to decriminalize these types of plants, and several states have already decriminalized them, as well as Canada, Costa Rica. A lot of stuff is legal in Mexico, so the Netherlands is another place. So people are taking these traditions and applying them to their own lives, and some of the practices are what I would call like modern or westernized, and then others go all the way back decades to Amazonian practices. Um, and I think a lot of people are finding benefits, and including scientists who are doing really controlled studies showing that magic mushrooms in particular really help with depression, can help people with PTSD. Things like ayahuasca can really help addicts recover and also help trauma survivors. There's been a lot of work done with veterans in ayahuasca, and there's some good documentaries about that too, for people seeking out more information. But yeah, I do like to think of my book as taking a trip, taking a psychedelic journey through the pages of the book. It's completely safe. It's completely legal. It's a great way to have a little unusual experience and alter your mind a little as you're reading the pages.
I love it. I love it. And before we wrap up, I mean, you've made it this far. There's a second book out now. Like, any advice you give to other writers who would like to be you and be out with their second book already?
I would just say consistency plus effort equals results. So just be consistent, let your imagination flow, try to write every single day. I personally try to meditate every day, and I think that really helps my writing. And just don't be afraid to write a story that's different or that crosses genres or that mixes up genres. Like, write the book that you want to write. Don't feel like you have to fall into some kind of category, because there's people just like you and they will want to read what you want to write.
That's awesome. That's a great way to put it. And let me just flash up a quick view of how people can connect with you. Obviously, they can find the new book on Amazon, but you're at Charlotte Dune on Instagram. Charlotte, Charlotte, Dune, Dune.
Mhm.
I always say that in a way that people misunderstand what I'm saying. It's a Scottish accent. And charlottedune.com. And both books are out now today. Folks can go read either or both.
Yep. And there's an audiobook of Cactus Friends, and it has some special like music and shamanic sound elements in it. And the audiobook for Mushroom Honeymoon hopefully will be out soon too. But the paperback and Kindle of both books are up.
Awesome. Well, I love how you described it as a trip. It's a safe, easy trip. You can experience some things you maybe have or haven't in life yet. And I'd encourage folks to go check them out. They're both out now today. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Lainey. And if people want to read more in this genre, I also have a psychedelic and theogenic reading guide on my website at charlottedune.com, and you can grab that for free.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great idea. Thanks, Charlotte, for joining me today.
Thank you so much.